Hello, it's great to have you again. Welcome to the new week, 7th to 11th of July 2025. As always, I'm Atomashi Daniel, Vestradus Global Market Analyst, whichever part of the world you're joining us from. Welcome. Karibu, Mambo, Salbona. It's great to have you. As always, we're going to be starting the analysis with our fundamentals. And some of the pairs we're looking at this week include the NZD USD, the AUD USD, the USD CAD, the USD CHF, and Bitcoin, BTC USD. So, what do we have in this week? Today is Technicals Day, paradise for technical traders. We do not expect any high impact, significant data to be released from any part of the major economies or any of the major economies. So, technical traders trade away, enjoy the day. On Tuesday, however, we expect Australia's central bank cash rate statements and a fixation of the new cash rate policy. That's the interest rate. Okay, and a press conference. Key events like that tend to affect the market based on comments from the heads of the central bank. In this case, Australia. Now we expect 25 basis points cuts from the central bank, meaning that we should have the interest rates drop from 3.85% to about 3.60%. This is expected, but of course, we won't know until the D Day. Now, the next is New Zealand's official cash rate. Also, Australia, New Zealand, these are economies very close to each other, whose economies are also very tied with one another. Now, the cash rates for this country is expected to stay stable. The central bank in New Zealand is not expected to increase or reduce the cash rate, which is also the interest rate for the country. Now, pay attention to the rate statement and the press conference of the head of the central bank because hawkish and dovish comments could affect the pair, the NZD USD. Now, on the same day on Wednesday, we expect the FOMC minutes, the minutes of the FOMC meeting. The FOMC, Federal Open Market Committee of the US, is like central bank meetings, right? Where you have heads of different branches of the central bank meet and discuss the way forward. So the report is expected on Wednesday. Of course, hawkish or dovish comments could impact the markets cross board wherever the US dollar is paired to any currency. Pay attention to that. Next, for Thursday, is the US unemployment claims, the weekly unemployment claims, of course. About 3, 4 weeks ago, we had decrease in the increase in the unemployment claims, which was bad. Of course, you know that the more the unemployment claims, the worse it gets for the US dollar. Why is that? Unemployment claims are benefits enjoyed by the unemployed. The more you have the unemployed in the society, the more the benefits you have to give, which is not good. Now, so for this data, less than expected is good for the US dollar. So pay attention to that on Thursday. That's the major news for me on that day. And on Friday, the big day for Canada, employment change as the jobs data and an unemployment rate on Friday. Of course, um, more new jobs, that's the unemployment change, higher than expected or higher than previous is good for Canadian dollar. For the unemployment rate lower than expected or the previous is also good for the Canadian dollar for Friday. And for Bitcoin, we know that more tariff war escalations from Donald Trump, increased global uncertainties, and increased crises across board could increase the volume of transactions in crypto, especially Bitcoin. So pay attention to that. So this is the fundamentals for the week. Now let's go over to um, the charts. What do we have on the charts? Now, what are we going to be starting with? Let's start with the Kiwi, the NZ, the USD. Now, what do we have on this guy? So this guy initially broke below an ascending channel on the 4-hour chart. You can see the break right there, okay, and touched upon massive lower levels, which was good for the pair. Let's look at that again. It broke below an ascending channel right there, as you can see right there, and it's headed for strong lower levels. Okay, in the past, say 4 days. Okay, that's the NZD USD. Now, what's the way forward? What do we see on this guy? Now, there's still some sort of negative divergence on NZD USD. We expect that there could be a continuation of price, right? the bearish movement on price. So pay attention to that. Now, to be more specific, we put our key resistance and support levels at number one, support at 0.6020. So if price breaks below that, which it has with strong volumes right now, and that's broken below the 200-day moving average, the red line right there, we could see it has touched upon the next psychological level below that. Okay, now the next most likely target below that could be 0.5980. That's the NZD USD. And below that, perhaps 0.5962 this week for the NZD USD. But if it happens to go above, okay, and breaks above 0.6053, then for me, the next most likely target would be 6078. Above that, perhaps 6100. And above that, 6120. Okay, on the NZD USD. I'm bearish on this guy at the early course of the week, and perhaps uh, favor short-term bullish positions, but right now I favor bearish positions on the NZD USD. Now, what else do we see? The next pair to consider here is the AUD USD. So this guy, of course, has also been moving very strongly um, along a nice ascending channel, as can be seen there on the daily chart. On the 4-hour chart also, you can see that right there. It's currently at the support border of the ascending channel, which has created nice breakout opportunities. We also see the presence of negative divergence on the RSI, okay, on the AUD USD. On the same 4-hour chart, you can see that right there is broken below the 200-day moving average. As you can see, the 200-day moving average, the red line, you see right there, currently strongly below it. After three massive voluminous trading sessions on the 4-hour chart, you see nice 4-hour session here, another 4-hour session, and another signifying strong bearish volumes. Now, if price continues its bearish momentum, we could see it during the course of the week touch below. If it breaks below this channel, continues below the 200-day moving average, the red line right there, we could see touch upon 6468. If it goes below that, perhaps 6442. Below that, perhaps 0.6418, and below that, maybe 0.6400 psychological level right there. But if the price happens to head back above 0.6535, which would be within the channel, right? We could see it touch upon 6551, and above that, perhaps 6565. If it goes above that, perhaps 6589, and above that, 0.6600. Okay, as can be seen right there, the last bullish line. Okay, now if you want to be conservative and you want to enter early, you can consider early entry within the channel to be around here. If price heads back above 6520, okay, I want to put that right there conservatively, then you might want to consider bullish positions up until the key support level of 6535. That's for the Aussie, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see again, it's currently below the 200-day moving average. Okay, looking like it wants to target 6466 or perhaps maybe 6470. Okay, be on the lookout for that. That's the Aussie. What am I? I favor bearish positions right now on this guy. Short-term bearish positions to the key support levels as discussed, and also for the Kiwi, I favor short-term bearish positions for the NZD USD. Now, what else? It's important to also note that we could get something similar to a recovery right around here. It could happen. Okay, the recovery could happen up until the 200-day moving average. If it breaks below 6470, okay, you could target that based on the support levels given already. This is the daily chart. So 6468, below that 6442, below that 6418, and below that 6400. Now, what else? So we do not price. Another major reason why the US dollar might see some appreciation is because the Federal Reserve Bank decided not to cut rates, or rather, has hinted that there might not be a rate cut, an interest rate cut in this particular week, or perhaps maybe in July. We might see it much later on in the course of the year, perhaps in August or in September, which is quite. It depends on how you look at it. Might be good or bad for the US dollar. But generally speaking, the jobs report has been very good for the US, which is good. Very amazing jobs report from the US so far. That's good for the US dollar. Riding on that, it's a good thing. And the new trade deals Trump has enacted across board. Now, the Trump tax cut is talking about that is a double-edged sword. We're going to talk about that in a bit, so pay attention to that after the analysis. Now, let's move on to um, the USD CAD. The USD CAD. So, what do we see on this guy? This guy has been moving very nicely along an ascending trend line, as you can see right there, right? Moving very nicely. The green line, the ascending trend line, is not broken below it, okay, significantly enough yet. Now, generally speaking, if it does break below it, we could see that the next most likely target could be the 200-day moving average. That's the red line right there. This is the weekly chart, and that level could coincide with 1.3424 or 3400. This is the weekly chart, but that's in the long term. However, in the shorter term, we see some sort of positive divergence, right, on the USD CAD. See that on the RSI, downtrend, but on the RSI, nice uptrend right there. Okay. Right now, it looks like it wants to target higher levels, perhaps being the 200-day moving average. You can see right there the red line. So, what do we do? It's been moving nicely along a descending channel on the 4-hour chart. Okay. It's broken above that significantly, as you can see right there. Broke significantly above it and above our key resistance level of 3640. All right. It looks like it's headed for the next main resistance level of 1.3700, which is the psychological level, and coincides with the 200-day moving average on the 4-hour chart. Okay, so pay attention to that. So for me right now, I'm bullish because it looks like it's about to, the bullish moves are strong. The bullish momentum is quite strong, and it's breaking past key resistance levels. So we could see it touch upon 3700. Okay, if it goes above that 3728, if it goes above that, perhaps 3759 right here. Okay, now if price happens to return below and goes below the key support level of 3557, the purple line, if it goes below that, we could see it touch upon 1.3538, and below that 3500. You can see the break of the channel broke above um, a descending channel right there, signal to buy. So I'm bullish in the short term. So I favor short-term bullish positions on the USD CAD going forward. Pay attention to this guy. All right. Um, Question now would be, would it continue its short-term moves? Well, it's highly unlikely. This bullish moves is going to go beyond the psychological level, or perhaps maybe 3728. Highly unlikely. Okay. If you want to be conservative, if it breaks above the psychological level, I'd rather put my buy around 3715 just to be safe. Okay. Just to be safe, because the weakness of the US dollar is still present in the markets, okay, due to so many things. Number one, fiscal policies from Trump, the tax cuts recently passed by the Senate, which seems quite good on one hand, but if you look at the generality of the bill, high income earners are getting more benefits. Okay, the tax cuts favors high income earners more, favors families with children too. However, it's going to cut some budgets, some monies away from the health insurance, general health insurance enjoyed by millions of Americans across, and also other parts of some other parts of the economy in the US. So it's a double-edged sword. While on one hand, it's cutting spending on one side, which would affect Americans, it's also reducing the tax burden on the other hand. So, in the generality of these and Trump's uncertainties, investors are shifting away from the safe haven effect of the US dollar, okay, and going to other pairs. As a result of that, it's caused a general weakness across board. So, because of these, I favor positions that involve weakness of the dollar, okay, cross board. So if you're doing bullish positions on the USD CAD, don't stay too long. Short-term bullish positions on the USD CAD and short-term bearish positions are also good. All right, USD Swiss, and then we'll call it to a close. The USD Swiss, we see positive divergence right there on the 4-hour chart, the RSI, okay, and generally speaking, it broke above, also just like the Luni, above a descending channel, broke above it. It looks like it wants to test higher levels. So for me, a break above 0.7973 and above the 200-day moving average on the 1-hour chart could see price head to 0.7986. Above that, perhaps 0.8000 psychological level right there. And above that, maybe 0.8017. Above that 8033 and above that 8050. I doubt it's going to go as high as 8050, but you never know what to expect from Trump. But if price heads below 7900, then we could see touch upon 0.887884 and below that 7870. So what's my take on this guy? I favor short-term bullish positions, because the general outlook is still bearish for this guy. For this week, I favor short-term bullish positions on the USD CHF. Now, for the USD CAD, OPEC has also decided to increase outputs. By so doing, it could lower the prices of oil. If it lowers the price of US oil, then we could see the Canadian dollar weaken. So as a result of that, maybe weakness of the CAD would mean bullish positions on the USD CAD, just as I said. Short-term bullish on USD CAD, short-term bullish on USD CHF. Now for the almighty Bitcoin. The almighty Bitcoin. So this guy has been playing around the highs. He's been playing around the highs. And based on patterns formed, if it breaks above 110,000, I see my next most likely target to be 111,034. If you're scalping and want to be conservative, maybe you put it at the next common swing highs here of this, and this being 110,525. If it goes above that 111,000, above that perhaps 111,729, and above that 112,248. If something pushes it above that, then we could see it touch upon 113,000. Okay, and if it goes way below 108457 being my support, then we could see it touch upon 107717. Below that, 106658. And below that, 105699. If price becomes adventurous enough and we see some strengthening of the US dollar against Bitcoin or weakness of Bitcoin, it could go further to 104971 or 104214. So what's my take? This guy, I'm neutral, but I favor short-term bullish or bearish positions. So opportunities that are showing short-term um, bullish entries or short-term bearish entries, I favor that. So that's that for the weekly outlook. It was great to have you. I'll see you again next week. As always, I'm Atomashi Dania. Have a good week. Bye-bye.